In the recent weeks, there's been a huge debate about Kenya's film industry. The debate invoking constructive dialogue, but also marred by misinformation. On this show, we delve into the conversation. We separate wheat from the chaff.
Once a filmmaker has a license from KFCB, they don't need another license from the counties, and this is where the problem is.
How viable is the industry as a business?
We don't expect to be paid. It's a passion.
Which is not bad, but then again, you need to marry passion with business.
The potential for job creation and economic growth.
The industry is capable of creating 250,000 jobs a year.
Welcome to the show. I'm Alex Chamwada. Our hashtag is The Film Conversation. But first, here is our fact sheet.
Apart from popular broadcast television stations where you easily access local content, there are many independent production companies, organizations, and a number of state agencies that are directly involved in the film industry. These include Kenya Film Classification Board, which is a state corporation established under the Films and Stage Plays Act, Cap 222 of Laws of Kenya, to regulate the creation, broadcasting, possession, distribution and exhibition of film and broadcast content to promote national values and to protect children from exposure to harmful content. Department of Film Services, which lies under the Ministry of Sports and Heritage and whose main role is to produce and disseminate public information and archive audio-visual content for posterity and reference. Kenya Film Commission, whose main responsibility is to market Kenya as a filming destination. KFC have become popular for their Kalasha Awards conducted annually. Meanwhile, Kenya Copyright Board comes in to prevent copyright infringement by fighting piracy among other functions. For the Chamwada Report, I am Michael Zimanji.
The Kenya Film Classification Board, KFCB, the body with the regulatory mandate within the industry, explains who is a filmmaker.
Under the Films and Stage Plays Act, Cap 222, film means a cinematographic film, recorded video, cassette film, recorded video discs, any recorded audiovisual medium. So basically audiovisual. So the moment you are doing that, whether you are doing it as a documentary or to promote tourism or for health, whatever purpose, talk to us. What we normally do, if it's a film on education, for educational purposes or health and so on, we give gratis license, we don't charge. We do not regulate news agencies or news, as it were, or even live events. There are other laws that govern that.
This means current affairs does not fall within their mandate.
There is the letter and the spirit of the law. I think it's very clear that media houses are regulated in terms of their production and the broadcasting licenses under Communications Authority of Kenya. So we cannot have a body that did not license you now coming in.
To carry out any audiovisual work in Kenya other than media houses, you will need to come up with a script and submit it to KFCB. The board looks at the script, and then you are issued with a filming license if approved. Then you go to the field and carry out your filming. Once you are done with filming, you will then submit your film to KFCB for classification. Important to note is that while in the field, in case there is a twist to your story, you will be required to report the new development to KFCB. You will be required to pay the following licensing fees to carry out your filming project. 12,000 Kenya shillings as annual registration fee, 5,000 shillings for every video you produce, as long as it is under 40 minutes, and 1,000 shillings for every day you are shooting.
The whole idea is to manage this process. There is no sector without regulation. Even lawyers are regulated, engineers are regulated, architects, accountants, everybody, medical profession. There is no profession without regulation. There is self-regulation, but there is the government work. The government work is to protect consumers from harmful content. Now, when it comes to the consumable content, then that's even more important because people are what they consume. If you just get garbage in, like they say in computer, garbage out.
Guys, I'm getting married again.
She's planning everything.
Filmmakers in Kenya have cited the current law governing the industry as prohibitive and slowing, if not blocking, the development of the industry.
What I don't like is that law. That Cap 222 law is the problem because it's old and it's archaic. That's what we need to address. That's what we need as filmmakers, to come and look at it and say, does it work or not?
We have to have a police officer on site. We have to have, our script has to be vetted and classified, quote unquote, that you must have a license. And you see, some people don't even have the amount of money because it's 12,000 shillings. 12,000 shillings is not a little money, and that's annually. Those were some of the things that we're trying to talk the government to, and directly with, particularly with KFCB.
The film licensing regime in Kenya is the cheapest in the region. When you're doing laws, you compare with the region, okay? So it's the cheapest in the region, number one. And that's a fact. You are the journalist, you can check Uganda, Tanzania. As a matter of fact, in Uganda and Tanzania, they are now licensing online. Okay, they have even gone to that level. I've just clarified, we do not license YouTube or online uploads, we don't. So when there is a challenge, if it is true they were feeling oppressed by the fee, you don't focus on the current, you improve the law and their procedures. You can go to parliament through their members of parliament, that's why they elect people. They can come to us with a memoranda. You see, we can't change the law unless people appeal to us.
In 3, 2, 1, action.
Meanwhile, the industry is capable of creating over 250,000 jobs a year, according to the Kenya Film Commission.
Our film industry is so huge. Like at any one time, you can imagine, you have to have a driver. You know, you have to have someone cooking for you if you have a budget for it. You have to have, all these people, extras, actors, so many people involved in it.
And then, of course, you must have the marketing team. The people do, and nowadays you have to have a social media team, you have to have a PR team, you have to have a distributor team, So for me, I see it as a very wide opportunity to create a lot of employment.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Film Commission expounds further on their role in the industry.
Our mandate is development, promotion, and marketing in nature. And we are saying that there is a possibility of the industry being able to generate over 40 billion a year if optimally operational.
But what needs to be done to harness this potential?
When you look at how the industry is governed today, we are governed by a very old policy framework. We would like to have a framework, a legal framework that will be able to guide the industry with consideration of the current state of affairs in terms of technology. The environment has changed. The technology, there is aspects of how we communicate, how media is consumed, how film is produced. All those things have to be considered into the new legal framework. When that is done, and we have the researches, and we have the skills that we require in the industry through capacity building that we always do, I believe we'll be able to achieve the estimated figures.
Another challenge players in the industry cite is lack of enough support from Kenyans who they say are not consuming as much local content as they do with foreign content.
Kenya saa zingine kuna ile hatujiamini. Wakenya unaona tu, yani sinema poa, it's been produced and it is out there, but no one is going to watch. Tunangoja tu piracy kauzwe 50 bob ndo tuende kununua. When your son, your daughter tells you, I want to do film, as a parent, I think you need try to understand what are they talking about. But I just imagine, because I've met so many people my age or even younger who said, I want to do film, then they were told, you utajilipia. No, and they were young, so they couldn't afford, so what happened? You see? So I think ni jukumu letu sote kufikiria, what is film? And these people who say they create films, what exactly do they do?
Hollywood draws a bigger group because of their content and their quality.
and the message they try to portray, but Kenyan programs mostly they try to imitate.
I enjoy some of them like Machachari, Junior, Anti-Boss. I like them because some of them are really funny and they can entertain you, and they are from our country. Like, I appreciate content from our country.
Unajua ile continuity. Unapata saa nyingine ile kitu ilikuwa last week sio yenye inaenda this week juu. At times wanaleta films kulingana na vile environment iko. Vile yani zile vitu zina trend ndio zinapata ziko kwa hizo films. But ukienda Hollywood unapata wanaleta kama ni series imeanza itaenda hivyo hadi mwisho, hakuna kitu ita divert ile information yenye ilianza. So naweza sema kidogo za Kenya si mbaya, ziko poa, but series mtu anaenjoy sana akiwatch.
You've heard of Kenya Information and Communications Act 2013 that compels free-to-air broadcaster to air up to 40 to 60% local content. Looking at the records or the reports given by Communications Authority, most of these stations are actually on the verge of attaining this requirement.
I have the privilege of sitting in panels interviewing young men and women who are coming to look for, employment as a camera person, as a lighting person, as a sound person, or studio technical operations. And you will find more often than not, almost always, what we do, you will absorb them. Yes, you will give them jobs because they have the necessary basic requirement, but you will have another training. What we are lacking is skills, and skills comes from training, and training comes from necessary equipment. Training, you could be trained theory, yes, but how can you train a sound person theoretically? You can only train that person with the equipment, the necessary equipment. I would really love to see some film schools, or those people who are intending to open schools, or who are training filmmakers, or even other skilled courses being standardized.
Of course, we know film is more craft than it is art. But what if you're taking art and craft and you put it together to build a story? You see, so there's a lot of training in Kenya, film training, everyone is training. Even you can get a lot of information from YouTube. But the challenge is, are you going to be a filmmaker because you can afford equipment? Or are you going to be a filmmaker because of passion and understanding of the skill?
What we really need to do, I think, as Kenyans, or as film industry practitioners, is to spend more time and more money in promoting and distributing our content. We need to make sure that we are visibly available, that people can see, oh, this is available here. Once that happens on a regular basis, then I think we shall be able to see some commercial value happening.
Talking about commercial value, we will look at the business sense of the industry and the resources that are available to help the local filmmaker right after the break. Welcome back. We are discussing Kenya's film industry. Now, Kenyan filmmakers say the industry is not as lucrative as it looks, lamenting that the country is losing business to countries like South Africa.
Kenyan filmmakers are not getting enough chances. Either they are not shouting, but you realize already there's a challenge because they're not making money out of film. Because the process is the same, isn't it? You've seen, even in music, they have to go to South Africa, others have to go to Tanzania to bring directors to shoot a music video. Have you done enough research? Or have you scouted for a talent in Kenya, ushindwe kupata ndo useme, hey, sasa hii yangu, hii labda niende South Africa kuleta mtu wa kuitengeneza. I wish there was a motion where you could say, if you're producing a film in Kenya, then you have to have a certain number of Kenyans who are producing it, and not just roles of driver or a cook, which is okay, but as a key filmmaker, as a director, as a producer, as a cinematographer, as a makeup artist, because there are Kenyans here who can do all the things.
Today we don't expect to be paid. It's a passion, The structure of making money off film is not yet there. you know. We still have a huge aspect, which is of the business itself, that we still haven't figured out as filmmakers here in Kenya. And we need to figure that out ASAP. And that is why we're trying all these things we can and see how we can maybe start understanding the marketing aspect of it.
We should bring more of this.
So let's see a lot of these people marrying their passion with business people who will make it happen. And that's why there are people now who are doing distribution and need to work a lot harder on that distribution. So if a movie from Hollywood came to Kenya, I mean, for example, Black Panther spent $200 million on the movie. If they did that in Kenya, and I'm assuming they would not spend all that money here, probably half of it, because a lot of it is poster, $100 million, that's 10 billion Kenya shillings. Think about that. We need to use film to the producers that are making Kenyan movies. The Maruga story would have gone to South Africa if it wasn't for the work of a few Kenyan fixers who actually went and talked to Richard Harding and made sure that he came to Kenya.
South Africa has an incentive program, which Kenya doesn't have. However, that doesn't mean that the country is not focused on having this and having a cake of the international productions happening here. And to that, we have already advertised, and the procurement process is ongoing, on having an incentives program for Kenya in place. When this is operationalized, I believe Kenya will compete at the same level with other countries that have incentives program. Other than that, the policy framework that I talked about earlier, that also will enable a working environment that is conducive to the filmmaker.
Critics in the industry keep asking whether the government is committed to developing the industry.
The answer is a resounding yes. To start with, we are discussing film with Kenya Film Commission, which is a creation of government. So that's a commitment in itself. Two, there are those instruments which will enable the industry to operate without hiccups. And for us to be able to establish a film fund, there is a framework that has to be in place. There is a guiding principle through the policy that will be able to enable the Commission have this fund operationalized or established, as well as all other areas of industry development. However, it's also worth noting that the government's commitment cannot be gainsaid because the policy has gone through all those processes, and as we speak, I believe Parliament will be handling it in the near future so that we are able to have the policy passed through Parliament for us to be able to operationalize all these other funding aspects.
This industry is growing. In the last 2 weeks, we've licensed 109 films, registered 84 film engines. That is the highest number of films ever registered in this country, ever licensed in this country. In this financial year, as of today, we have licensed 409 filmmakers. Those are films, stories, films, people in the field, shooting, the way you are recording now. If out of 400, na mwaka bado onjaisha, we ban one, how is that killing the industry? We have our own values. Mwacha mila ni mtumwa. And the films must reflect the dominant values and cultures of the Kenyan people.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Film Commission says it has established a resource center to support filmmakers.
That resource center, you can do your personal scheduling for your production, budgeting, you can do desktop research. The resources, based on our subscriptions to the international film resources, which enables the film industry to access any kind of information, is available, and we don't charge for it. As you know, in the industry, for you to produce a film or to go on location, you need to acquire a license, you need to identify your locations, and all that. Filmmakers access these particular offices and all their requirements by the support of this particular office. So mine is just to ask the industry to utilize the facilities that already exist because they are meant for the industry.
George, presentation, take one.
Now, let's take a moment and look at the way forward and the future of the industry.
I think the future of film is a bright one. Those of us who are in film are not stopping. We're continuing. There's a lot of excitement in the industry right now. There's a lot of tug and push and pull. So that is it's vibrant. That is a sign that a very beautiful thing is just about to explode in the near future.
I think you're just scared. We all are. I know I am.
It's for us to really look at it critically. Yeah, and for me, the business aspect is a huge place for us to look at. Let's sit down. Let's even talk to business management companies. How can we turn this into business? You know, how can we make people buy this? You know, it may start slow. It may not happen in my time, but I'm certainly trying to figure out the business aspect of it.
Producers, give us something fresh. That is my take. Give us something fresh. Because when we watch the Niger movie, you know, the Nigerian movies, they tell their story. They don't even struggle to tell us the Western. And I think that's why even we sit and watch 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of Nigeria, because it is telling you about the Nigerian culture. And you want to know more of what they do. There was Tausi, yes. And everybody was following it. Why? It was telling us our story. Don't bring me a Hollywood something acted in Kenya by Kenyans. It's fake.
We care about producers. We care about the youth who want to make money out of this film. We support a lot of films. We support a lot of youth. We have started Cinema Mashinani, which is, helping to inculcate values and to tell our stories, to ensure that we reflect more on those films from the grassroots, by the people, for the people. You remember the old culture of Watoto Kaeni Chini? We are promoting that. So we are saying treat filmmakers equally. And we are trying to create this awareness. And I hope this point can come across that film licensing is a national function. And a filmmaker with a license from KFCB does not need to obtain another film license from the county governments.
We can do better, but we are sitting at a space that has a huge potential. And unlocking this is not complex.
Amid the challenges Kenya's film industry is facing, hope remains alive that in the coming years, the country will be able to reap the benefits that lie beneath. Well, and as you may have noticed in the conversation on this show, players in the industry are upbeat that the current debate will take the industry to another level. And on that note, we come to the end of the show. On behalf of the entire crew behind this production, thank you so much for watching.